Are they really?
No, I'm just being
Ready, guys?
I don't know what you guys are talking about. So I'm just-
I know, just don't even
guessing
go.
it.
Just, yeah, it's something else. I'm just being funny.
There's nothing on wall. I don't see any lights on these projectors. Are they turned on? Now they are.
Oh, you're late. What the hell are we paying you for?
I like his style.
Mr. Optimist himself.
Well,
The
now,
on-air light's not on. Does that make a difference?
The on-air light that is normally on?
It doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay.
Well, it does to us.
So there's a slide up there. We don't see our smiling faces.
There we go.
There we go. I would like to call to order the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting for the City of Monona for Monday, September 15th, 2014. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood,
Here.
Alder Bussey.
Here.
Mayor Miller.
Here. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes of the September 2nd meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any corrections or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved. There is no one here this evening for appearances section. There is no unfinished business. Under item 6, new business, 6A is consideration of resolution 14-09-1984, approving an exclusive right to negotiate agreement with Gorman and Company, Inc. Alder Bussey.
I would like to recuse myself.
Okay, that will be fine. Thank you. Is there a motion for approval? For discussion?
Yeah, I guess I would, yes, I'll move approval.
And I will second discussion.
Well, one thing I was going to note is CDA is going to be reviewing this at its September 30th meeting.
Uh-huh.
So I would be okay with finance just moving it along to council without a recommendation, I guess, at this point, and then
Okay.
and then, wait for the second reading to approve it at the city council.
Okay. So do we need that, or we'll just table this?
You could have a motion to refer this to the city council
Yeah, refer it without a recommendation.
without a recommendation.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so you want to withdraw the original
Right,
motion?
yes.
And I accept that. You want to make the new motion?
I'll move that we refer this matter to the city council without recommendation.
I will second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All of us in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 6B, consideration of resolution 14-09-1985, approving a lease amendment with Tellurian, Inc. Alder Bussey, you can return. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll move approval.
Is there a second for Tellurian, the
Second.
lease? There's motion second. Discussion. Attorney Cole?
I had a question for the chief, but
Okay. And Chief Estrenga? Do you just want to tell us what we're looking at here with this?
Sure, thanks, Mayor. This, Tellurian has an existing lease, as you know, where they lease property from the city. The lease currently has a provision in there. The initial construction was financed through WIDA. And there's a provision in the current lease that says that if there's ever a default on that lease, the lendor can cure that default, and then they could sublet to a different mental health treatment facility. They've paid that loan off, and they want to refinance with a different lender, a commercial bank. The commercial bank objects to the existing language as being too restrictive. In their view, somewhat understandably, if they had to cure a default, they would want to sublet to as broad of a potential market as they could. We took issue with that. We pointed out that basically, given the location of that facility, we just cannot give unfettered discretion to sublet to any potential use in there. So what we ended up working out was an agreement whereby if there is a default, the first layer is the city has the right to purchase the property. If the city did not exercise that right, the lender has the right but not the obligation to cure the default. If they were to elect to cure that default, any sublet or sale of the property, the improvements, would be in our discretion. We could consent to it or not in our discretion. Currently, the lease says if they find a mental health or drug alcohol treatment facility, our consent is given in good faith, meaning unless we have a strong reason not to, we need to consent. So it broadens our discretion. For that reason, I have no legal concern with it. There were also some cleanup issues that the city requested as long as we were amending this lease. The first one had to do with police time, and Chief Ostrenga can address that. It's basically compensating the city for any police time in excess of 20 hours per month. The second issue has to do with, we found that there is a path through Woodland Park that somewhat goes across the leasehold interest that Tellurian occupies. So this amendment would consent to and authorize that path, that trail to continue to be there. The third thing had to do with the police have encountered some issues where patients are there that are under court order to be at that facility. And if they stray or walk away, the facility calls the police department to basically track them down. The current lease basically is pretty silent on that, as all it really says is the facility is not to be used for a corrections program. So the third clarification we wanted in this amendment was that nobody is to be at Tellurian under court order, meaning they can voluntarily leave of their own volition. And that would mitigate the problems we have from the police end, and Tellurian's agreeable to that and has signed this lease. So.
Thank you. Alderman Wood?
Question for the city attorney. So somebody could be there subject to a court order as a, for rehabilitation, but as long as the court order doesn't say that they must be at that site and can't leave, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
We fully expect a lot of the people there will be under court orders to,
Yeah.
for instance, take medication, that sort of thing. And
Right.
we've made clear with Tellurian that's fine. We just
Okay.
would preclude anybody from being under court order to be at that particular facility.
Okay.
And just a point of information, the whole reason this is being reopened, and I'm very supportive of it, but is they want to go get a remortgage financing to remodel the facility.
Okay.
And if you haven't been in there, it needs it. And they want to fix it up and make it more for private patient treatment
Okay.
in addition to their normal model. Any other questions of Attorney Cole?
None for me.
I had just
Chief?
one, of the chief, with the provision that if it goes over 20 hours per month, we would be able to bill them for that. Do you know how often it goes over 20 hours or what the average hours?
Mr. Flork is actually going to be here, I think, for the actual council meeting at 7:30. But we started tracking it, and in June, we sent him a bill for June and July because he had already signed the agreement, even though it hadn't been to the council. In June, I believe it was around $400, so it was like 10 hours over. And then July, I think we were quite a bit more over that. I think it was around 1,200, 1,300.
We
Did
have
they ever pay you,
Winnebago.
Mark? We haven't gotten a check for that?
He wouldn't until this gets wrapped.
In August, we were just slightly over. We were about 21 hours.
Okay.
The problem is, you know, we're counting ambulance calls every time we go there, fire calls, anytime we're there. If it's a simple, go there, keep the peace type of thing, that's not a problem. The ones are, when someone has gone in for an emergency detention, they've gone through the process and through the court, and now they're out on medication, and Tellurian's taking them in to monitor their progress while they're taking their meds. And either they go off their meds, or they can't, or the meds are wrong, and we have to go through the whole emergency detention process again, which involves getting a medical clearance at the hospital, waiting for that to get done, and because there's no facility in Dane County, transporting them out to Winnebago with 2 officers. And we only have 2 working on the street, so that's where it gets expensive for us. That could be an 8-hour shift.
Which happened
Yeah.
4th of July weekend.
Right.
Yeah, we had 2
Not from
separate
there,
ones
but-
on the same day. We had 2 of them
Oh, it
going
was
at the
from
same
there, right?
Oh, it was?
One of them
Oh,
was, yeah.
okay. All
So,
right, let's,
at least we'll be, economically, I think we'll come out of this better. All right, any further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Bill. Item 6C is consideration of Resolution 14-09-1986, which is approving a 2014 capital funds transfer for Schluter Park restroom design. Is there a motion for approval?
so moved.
Second.
Motion second. Jake?
Yes, during our capital budget discussions with the mayor and talking about the proposed Schluter Park stormwater improvements to the cove and lagoon, we did have some engineering done for park work as well. That included doing a topographic study of the park and looking at shoreline restoration and some enhancements to the park that we could make. The project was originally scheduled for construction this year. It got pushed back through the capital budget process, and looking at eventually the bathrooms need to be replaced, that it would make sense to be able to construct the bathrooms at the same time that the rest of the improvements to the stormwater channel, lagoon, and park improvements were being made. It's been discussed at Park and Rec Board several times as at least an ideal situation is to not have the park closed for 2 consecutive summers. As it stands now, we had design in the capital budget for next year with construction in 2016. Typically, when we have a bigger project like this, there are some potential savings on the site work, so you have one contractor there with the excavator that can do the mechanical dredging of the lagoon, and then can also dig the hole, tear down the existing bathroom, and prep for the foundation. So there is some economic sense to be able to do the projects at the same time. Also, there's the use of the park that's greatly enjoyed by a lot of people on the Lake Monona bike loop and pedestrians through Monona, that it would be challenging to have that park or portions of the park closed to the general public for 2 consecutive years. And so we did have some projects that were not completed this year for various reasons. We do have some money within the existing parks and pool capital budget to look at doing a design this year. Some urgency to try to get the design, go through the various committees to be able to do a January bid release, and then the construction would be in April through August, September for next year.
It was originally starred, which you'll hear tonight, for 1 reading, but in discussions with Jake earlier this evening, we want to let this out to bid, just to make sure we're getting as competitive. Also, it's a little bit of the cart before the horse. You haven't seen this in your capital budget packet, which you haven't
Right.
received yet, so this is somewhat contingent upon that whole project gets approved too, or else it's a moot point. So I think this will line it up better for you to see the full scope of it. It's not a full park shelter as a fireman's. It's basically a bathroom with perhaps an observatory features. And parks, Jake is going to, we've had a good track record going for grants, and there's some hope that one of the models we looked at was on Seminole Highway in Fitchburg, built a beautiful bathroom there along their bike trail, and they received substantial bicycle grant from the county, and Jake thinks this might qualify as because it's on the designated City of Monona, City of Madison scenic bike path. So we're gonna try to get monies for that too, so. Just some background. Further questions? Alder Bussey?
Now, I think I'll wait till council, but what I'll ask then is if you could explain a little bit about, the work that's being done for the stormwater and the bathrooms, and, I'm trying to picture why it would have to be closed. I don't want you to go through it twice, so I'll just ask it during council.
Sure.
But, why, what the work is that in the first phase and the second phase, it would cause it to be closed for 2 years. So I'll hold on.
Okay. Alder Wood?
On the 3 items that we're taking the money from out of this year's budget, it looks like the pool concession room air conditioning is, you definitely still want to do that.
Correct.
The Woodland Park parking lot seems a little more iffy.
Correct.
2016 at the earliest, and
Yeah, correct. We're looking at with all the recent upgrades and activities, and I think what we'd like to do is focus on some better signage for the available parking at Aldo Leopold to access the park and the trail as an initial point, and probably try to sketch out those details. One opportunity for the parking lot at Woodland Park was coming in off of Beldy Lane on the backside. So there's not really an ideal spot to get to the park without trying to get an easement or access agreement with the Jamaican Dave's restaurant if we wanted to come in right there on Monona Drive. And so we won't have a direct access from Monona Drive, so it's either trying to secure an easement with Jamaican Dave's or coming in off Beldy Lane. So I think, it was one of those projects that I just didn't have time to have an engineer start to look at it, and it dropped down the priority queue for the Park and Rec Board.
okay. And then the Dream Park restroom design for a separate restroom, that's kind of waiting to wrap up the whole
That will be coming to you.
That's part of the capital.
Yeah, I'm coming with my version. I'm hoping it's the same version, but that's what the settlement, that's what Attorney Cole did the settlement for, and that got somehow, and I was here with you, we kind of have redeployed that money, and I want that money to be used for what it was designed for, and get rid of the outhouse in the winter and the needles that were found in there and that kind of stuff. So, in my budget, and you have parks tomorrow night, correct? So I'm hoping they will agree with me, but I don't, you guys will get to decide. But I'm coming forth with a bathroom remodel addition. I don't know, did that answer your
So
question?
then don't we still need design money for that this year, or no?
I think that it could be a design build all in one calendar year, looking at the schedule. If we've got Lattice on the books for an early spring construction schedule, potentially Schluter, we're looking at doing the Dream Park, that would be a fall, August, September, so we got a little bit more time with that, and some details to still iron out on, location and how things are going to tie into the existing building.
And again, my point's not that they can't do they want to change some of the amenities in there,
Right.
but I want to do that as a separate budget. I mean, that changes scope of what this lawsuit was for. And so they can bring forth as a capital budget plan to do those things. We can discuss it. All right, further discussion? Hearing none? All those, what's this, 20, roll call, please.
Alder Bussey?
Aye.
Alder Wood?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thanks, Jake. Item 7 is acceptance of general fund accounts payable checks dated from August 29th through September 12th, 2014. Mark?
It's pretty thin for the first time, so there's not a lot of stuff in there. If you got questions, just let me know. I'm just going to jump around here to page 11 and 12.
Yeah. Alder
One,
Bussey.
release of claims.
Yeah,
agreement.
that's same.
What is that? On page 1.
Page one. There was damage to a vehicle by one of our vehicles, and it was under under the threshold, under $1,000, so City Administrator Marsh approved that payment.
Yeah.
And a quick question for Chief. An arbitrator is the camera, or is that what is an arbitrator?
It's Panasonic is the manufacturer, the arbitrator is the actual system. So
Is that the tough book lap? Is that the computer?
it goes into it.
Okay.
I don't know what you have in front of you.
Just says arbitrator in
Yeah,
car.
it's the Baycom invoice.
Baycom for $1,400.
I believe that was to pay for the software, because we had to update our software for the whole system. Because the newer cameras are all HD, so we bring the whole system up. So that's the server and all the laptops and all the units.
Not for $1,450. Oh, software.
Software.
Alder Bussey?
No, I was going to question on page 4.
Did you have something before that, Mark?
No,
McCann's sewer and drain portable toilet rental, is that a monthly figure?
that's a monthly fee. That's for all ours and throughout the city.
And how many do we have? Do you know offhand?
Jake, do you know offhand how we have?
It
Fire.
depends on, during the baseball season, we have one at IHM, one at Winnequa number 3, and then we've had one at Lottis. One at Lottis is year-round, and Frostwood, I'm sorry. So we have 4, kind of April through September, and then we go down to 1.
And they charge us per, we don't just, it's not a flat fee throughout, so they do charge us based on how many we use.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna jump to page 11 unless you guys, well, actually, page 11, Kilgus. Problem with some of these buildings, you'll see when we start looking at the operating, the AC services. If we have issues, we have to, do expensive repairs. Down there, at the very bottom, landmark. This is our fuel cost for a month. You can see by each department who's using it. And page 12, so there's 2 months worth of fuel costs there.
I had a question on page 11. JRE of Monona LLC replacement check.
Yeah, that was a check that, there was an issue, this is one of these right-of-way purchases for Monona Drive. They held their check, they had an issue with the lien on their check. There was another provider, IRS, on there. They finally got that taken off of, and we reissued the check.
Okay.
Page 13.
This is just a process, and maybe Chief or can end, but with our fuel charges, what kind of auditing is done? Is every employee given an individual fuel card, or does the department share a fuel card?
Each individual vehicle has a fuel card.
So vehicles are assigned a card?
Yeah.
And who checks on that usage?
Well, I do a spreadsheet every month, or Eileen does it. Basically, we get from our landmarks, we get a spreadsheet, or report that shows who used it, or not who used it, but which car it was, how many gallons was used, what the cost per gallon was on that day. So then we just kind of put in a spreadsheet to tally up who's using it. Which is
So how would we know if the chief is just running his powerboat through there
how do we know?
late at night and filling it up, his 800-gallon gas tank in his boat?
Well, as far as that.
Is there any checks and balances on the, how, I mean, because that's a big bill every month.
Yeah, I mean, basically the only check they have is kind of looking at each vehicle and see if it seems reasonable per month, but I can't tell if he would go and put $10 worth of gas in there. I mean, that's, based on, trust and honesty.
But there is some site, like, okay, this seems to be normal, or...
Yeah, I mean, if there's one vehicle that's way up, we would know that something's going on.
Do
Figure
the
out why.
department head see these numbers?
No, I review them.
So you're the one.
Yeah, but I can give them out to, I'll start giving them out to them. They can,
Do you ever see anything that concerns you, or no?
no, I haven't seen anything. Once in a while, you'll see a car that's changed or something like that, we'll catch, and
You'll
it kind of
catch
throws
it.
us off, but
Okay. Thank you.
And usually you can tell like what streets, like especially for public works, you can tell what activity they're working on more at that time, if they're street sweeping or more in the parks. So you can kind of gauge based on the season too.
Okay.
Page 13. McKay Nursery, Nichols Road Landscaping, that's in the TIF, but that's up by the corners by the school. Openwood Studios, at the very bottom, the park signs that were just put in.
Where were those all, Jake? These 4 park Buttonwoods, Openwood?
Oneida, Arrowhead, and Wildgate.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Any further question? Alder Bussey?
On page 15, there was a question brought up at Plan Commission regarding the Lottis Park improvements that we had an engineering firm prepare the plan, and then the same engineering firm being paid to review the plan. And just as a matter of practice, if that's a wise thing to do.
Veerbecker did both?
Yeah.
Different people at Veerbecker, but yeah, Veerbecker, as far as the erosion control and stormwater permitting, I believe, is retained by the city to review plans, but Veerbecker is also on our list of 3 engineers that we have to choose from when we do projects, and they came in with the lowest qualified bid to do the work as far as engineering goes for Lottis Park. So I don't know, it'd be either, if you don't want to have that potential conflict of interest, you probably wouldn't want to have Veerbecker on our list of 3. However, Veerbecker has done some excellent work, engineering work for us in what they have done.
And
Or the other way around, a different.
Yeah, it might
firm could do
just
that
be
one.
you have a choice, yeah.
it just seemed...
Pick your poison.
Yeah, it was, and nothing, I mean, Darren's done a great job for us over the years in his analysis and review, but it was just a comment made, is that, is there a little bit of a conflict of interest when you're reviewing your own plans and getting paid to do so? And I don't know, I just bring it up as, because it was brought up at Plan Commission.
So how would we have just not allowed them to have been,
Either, or someone other than Darren would review the plans.
A different retainer for a backup.
right, just, yeah, going into it, we just
I mean, if they prepare...
let them know if you're going to prepare the
then
plans.
Somebody else reviews it, but you don't have the same firm reviewing their work.
And this is water under the bridge on this one, right?
Right,
So,
right.
but maybe going forward, we,
Just bringing it up.
yeah.
And I'm
Be
assuming it's
cognizant.
had to have happened with the other projects that Veerbecker has,
I just bring it up.
yeah,
as a
done
thought
with
of the table.
stormwater, so it,
Yeah.
But that might be something we would put in design, and I'd look to the city attorney, just some clause, should you subsequently bid the project, to do the project, you have there's a set aside so that a third party is retained for planned inspection.
With our firm, if a company does a phase 1, they don't do the phase 2. So, you know, that way you don't get where they're building in work for themselves. It's just
Mhm.
kind of a check.
Yeah.
So it was brought up by a member of the commission. And I
Yeah,
thought
that's
it
not
was
a
worth
bad
bringing up.
idea. And I would think they wouldn't have any problem with it, even though they're fine upstanding citizens. Any further questions? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval of the checks?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, further discuss, yep.
Just in front of you, because this is kind of
Oh,
dealing with the,
yep.
if you guys, the handout was in front of you for our solar project. Just kind of give you the kilowatts that were used. You can see the spreadsheet, the savings, looks like it's about $10,000 roughly. But we used the solar kilowatts about 82, almost 83,000. With that, last year costs, this year, with last year's costs, this is from January through June. So last year with MG&E, we're about 37,000. This year it's 28,000. There's some rec cost in there, then there's a rental cost. As you can see, the savings, total cost charge was rec sell back savings of $10,581. So it is working. The Public Works Garage is probably our best one, gets the most space, and but we'll have these every quarter now that we know how to do these.
And do you know how to look at the MG&E bill to make sure it's audited to ensure correct credit? The second to the
Yep, I saw
last
that.
sentence.
I
So
was double checking to see what.
find
make
out
sure-
what you need to do to
Yep.
do that. No, that's great. And for the public who's not observing this document, I think it is important, a nice note with our solar project is it says that the parking garage actually generated more electricity than it consumed for April, May, and June. So it's energy positive in its production.
Should that be Public Works Garage, I assume?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, not parking, yep. So wonderful. I will also try to, I think we have at work the ability to equate what the carbon usage, what
We do have,
amount of coal we didn't burn.
if you look on our website, it does show that on there.
Okay.
There is a link to it.
All right. Thank you for getting that. And,
Just for the second quarter, right?
no, year-to-date through the second quarter.
Yep.
So 6 months, of which 3 of the 4 locations were up by the 1st of January, but the pump station didn't come online until later.
Correct, that was the last one.
So, and actually, the thing about solar is, as the sun's higher and hotter, it generates more, so our July and August should even look better on this. Thank you, Mark, for getting this. And thanks, Shannon. I got that email at about 4:30 this morning. She's at some conference
at
somewhere,
conference,
so she was up
sustainability.
awfully early this morning. All right, is there any miscellaneous business from anyone?
Just one
Yep.
quick thing, just so kind of talk about the Capitol, that we'll have that on the next agenda.
Yep.
And books will be out, the mayor's kind of reviewing it still, so as soon as we get the okay, we'll get some books together and we'll get them out by as soon as, for sure, by Monday of next week, I'm assuming, so.
And last year, we did it in one night, the open book, but there was some concern about people getting tired. So it's kind of whatever you guys want to
The
do,
whole part, yep.
how you want to do, not open book,
Committee of the whole.
committee of the whole, excuse me. So we'll do a poll or whatever, once you get your books and take a look and see how fast we can go. All right, if there's no further questions, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned, thank you.
Did you get a chance to look at that?
Yeah. Well, the one sheet we need to, but I'd like to just wait to see what happens
Okay.
with their meeting tomorrow night. And I don't know, has everyone else gone through their committees on everything? Have you seen capital, approved capital?
See, that was one of my concerns.
Which committee have you? What is the?
There is no budget.
Put the capital portion on there, so.